Dresner, who brought the play in, is lined up to the near side, and it's Scott Barker to the far side. Wilkowski wants to go to the air. Pump faking, and he's going to go long for Barker. Mike Scott, and Mike Scott has it. Mike Scott is going to go all the way.
Zagala takes a snap, scrambling, pressure coming from the backside. It's intercepted by Kenny Bradley at the 20, 25, 30, past the 30. He's shy of the 40-yard line. Kenny Bradley.
There's the snap. He drops back. The Bombers blitz. Pass goes incomplete to Brian Pabst. The Bombers are going to win the game.
College football, one of the foundations of American sport. Saturdays light up campuses across the country as schools of every size and specialty field their best 22 against strangers and rivals alike. In Division III of NCAA football, however, there's an extra layer to the dedication of both fans and players. Without the incentives of NIL money or the promise of big league attention, the sport is in its purest form, with teams made up of athletes who want nothing more than to compete. At Ithaca College, this tradition of pure football has been upheld for more than 90 years. A trio of national championship banners hang in historic Butterfield Stadium, and the fans, though fewer in number, are as fiery for the Bombers as any Division I program out there.
Pressured by Holland, now he's going to be sacked. He's going to be sacked by Truman as pandemonium breaks out on the Ithaca College sidelines.
Snap back, Kazanowski settles into the pocket. Now gets flushed out towards the far side to Simplis, rallies in, and that ball is intercepted by Mikey Rumis at the 15-yard line on the near sideline.
Just down the hill from the athletes, however, are a small group of students gathered to broadcast every play, factoid, and story of every second of Bomber football.
Barker far side is option. Pasquale will keep it himself, and Pasquale is into the secondary. Tom Pasquale might score, and Tom Pasquale is going to go all the way. Tom Pasquale.
In doing so, the group grows together, fights through adversity, and forges bonds that will last a lifetime. Because every story needs someone to tell it.
And we say good afternoon from inside the Dick Lyons press box from Bertino Field at Butterfield Stadium. Alongside my partner, Alex Tchiprout, I'm Cam Manna, Parker Hollendoner down on the field. And folks, we cannot wait to be your eyes and ears for Bomber football all season long.
Buried in the hills of central New York, Ithaca College stands on the South Hill, small but proud. Founded as a conservatory of music in 1892, the school expanded in the 1930s to offer additional fields of study, including radio, which gained a degree program in 1947. Today, student radio is one of the things most ubiquitous with Ithaca College, mainly in its flagship station, WICB Ithaca. Established in 1941 and receiving its license from the FCC in 1948, the station gained its current call letters and frequency of 91.7 FM in 1957. And for almost as long as the station has existed, it has distributed a live broadcast of Ithaca College football games.
He fakes for Wingfield, over the top, it's Klein, he's wide open, he's got it!
So the WICB Football Crew is the exclusive radio coverage that Ithaca College provides for Ithaca College football, and we cover every aspect of the team, from the coaches to the players, and we provide a level of coverage that is not seen at the Division III level, and frankly isn't really even seen at the Division I level. This is a professional level broadcast of Division III college football, so the kind of coverage that you're getting is really in depth as well, because we have all this access. Wherever the football team is, WICB is there.
We were really road warriors last year because of how many road games that the football team had. I mean, we were bouncing from Maryland to Virginia to Massachusetts, all over just the East Coast, and it was truly a special season, and unfortunately it ended in rain-off Macon, but it was still something that was really, really fun.
It really is a full production. We have our pre-show, which most weeks is an hour. For Cortaca, it was 2 hours, which is way different than the usual 5-minute pre-show we do for every other sport here if it gets picked up on radio. Way more goes into it than basically any other sports production on radio.
Every year, the WICB sports director is tasked with assembling the best crew possible to follow and report on every aspect of Ithaca football. In its 3 phases, the crew may be made up of students, but the broadcast has to be anything but amateur.
I built my crew off of talent, and I knew I was getting the best people for the job and people who would put together a really good show, on top of being really good people.
The Football Crew is the preeminent broadcast team on the South Hill, arguably in Ithaca, New York. There's a lot of people who get paid to do stuff around here. What we do for free is better than what most paid crews can put out following a team.
The amount of work and preparation that goes into play-by-play and color commentary for a football game is just on a whole nother level. I mean, field producing, I didn't really have to do any prep. I just show up with the equipment and, you know, just sort of plug everything in and let the commentators do their jobs. But for play-by-play, it was a whole entire another level of experience and a whole nother level of preparation and work that you have to do, and just the amount of dedication that it takes really shows to create a good broadcast. And it really, you know, shows how much work you have to put in to get the best product that you want.
Confidence was high, vibes really good. I thought, you know, coming in, we had a great crew, and Toby and Connor Smith I'd kind of built up a rapport with over the last couple of years. So knowing that those were the guys I'd be working with, was, you know, a great feeling. It was very exciting.
It's a very special group, hand-selected every year to put on the best possible professional level broadcast of Bombers football.
During the 2024 season, a newly assembled crew had 10 games to prepare for and a mile of new stories to uncover.
To be on the call for pretty much the premier job that anybody can have here at Ithaca College in terms of sports radio, having the ability to call the football team play-by-play, it's something that, you know, I've always dreamt of, but I never really thought I was going to have the opportunity to do.
Brought together by nothing but an audition process and the discretion of the sports director, only a few members of the crew are in familiar roles.
Since I was on the show last year, I had sort of filled in my new co-hosts on some of the format we had the previous year, and we tried to replicate it the best we could. And I think it went pretty well, even though it was a new group of people.
I had done halftime before, so I kind of was familiarized a little bit with how the crew had run. And, you know, I had my good friend Nooch, of course, who was a CTK analyst before. So I was able to kind of get some advice from him on what to prep for.
It was exciting to kind of come back earlier and figure out what was going to be going on this season, because I knew what field producing was, but I didn't know all of what my responsibilities were, because obviously field producing Football Crew, which is a whole production, is way different than most of our radio games that I had field produced in the past.
You know, I was just really fired up. I thought I had a good audition last year, and when Toby asked me if I'd be able to do the CTK, I was really excited because I thought it was a great opportunity.
With the new season comes a new audience, including freshly graduated alums and parents of new students. The first thing that audience hears before the season even starts is Countdown to Kickoff, WICB's pregame and postgame show. Back on Countdown to Kickoff 92, WICB Ithaca, Tobiah Zboray, Lucas Orlovitz, Connor Smith in the ICB studios.
Watching the games a lot, and here the offense is a little bit confusing this year under Coach McGuire. You know, a lot of different quarterback sets.
Love that pick, Orlo. I think that fits you really well. I'm going to go away from food. I'm actually going to go with a nice full cup of orange juice.
Hosted by the sports director and his hand-picked analysts, an hour of discussion, interviews, and lighthearted banter bookends every game. Welcome to Countdown to Kickoff on 92 WICB Ithaca. Tobiah Zboray joined by Lucas Orlovitz, Connor Smith in the WICB studios. What a day for Bomber football.
A block is the interview with Coach Turper, and we talk about the team. B block is we talk to the color commentator at the field and talk a little bit about the opponent. C block is the fun block. We get the weather report, we get the whole 9 yards. It's the kickback, put your feet up, and then we have a fun in-studio game. And then D block is we round it out with the opposing coach interview and predictions.
Especially early on in the season, Countdown to Kickoff, or CTK for short, gives fans a way to catch up with what they missed in the offseason, as well as a way to peek into the stakes for every given week, no matter how far away from Butterfield Stadium they're tuning in from.
My job, as well as Orlo's, was to prep and be ready to talk about the team. You know, we broke down the last game before that, previewed the game coming up, and then gave our predictions and analysis the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the defense, all throughout the season being the backbone of this Bomber team and the lack of complementary football. And I think, partly on that defense, they said, okay, we cannot lose the game today if we don't give up a single point, and that's exactly what they did.
Regardless of what's going on in the game, again, we're going to put on a great broadcast. We're going to have some fun talking ball, and, let's just be loose. Let's just have as much fun as possible. Really helped lead to a better product.
And after just a few weeks of working together, the season began with a new rival. You're listening to Countdown to Kickoff.
Everyone on the crew, we'd spent that time paying attention to the team and paying attention to this rivalry, and we knew that it was going to be a good game.
Week one was definitely it was the nervous, the fun nerves. I've said it before, if you're nervous about something, then that means you care.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to coverage of Ithaca Bomber football. Countdown to Kickoff. We are here.
Johns Hopkins was probably the best first week broadcast I've ever seen from any crew.
Coming out of it, I think we were fired up that, we had done our jobs really well and kind of set Cam and Alex and Parker at the field up for a great broadcast. And, while it was the first week, it didn't feel that way. It felt like, we were in mid-season form.
The broadcast was good. Once I found myself getting, caught up to the speed of things and found myself in the groove of it, I thought that I settled in and we put on a good show.
So that first time at Johns Hopkins, just being on the call with Cam and sort of watching that kickoff happen and, just sort of realizing and setting in that wow, I'm actually doing this.
It's a new season of Bomber football. It's a new start, and both teams, their quest to begin starts now. Paxton creeps up, the right leg boots it away.
It did not sound like a crew in week one. It sounded like a crew in week 6 or week 7.
Shum, it's a keeper left side. Has some room. A block from Williams. A juke from Shum. The skyscraper into the end zone for a touchdown.
From a broadcast standpoint, that game was exceptional.
To have a first broadcast like that was awesome.
It's a brotherly shove, and Bay Harvey will dive forward, waiting on the signal and a mosh pit in the end zone. Hands in the air, touchdown Blue Jays.
In my opinion, I think it set the bar a little too high because then the next few weeks we were always comparing ourselves to that game. We were like, we want to get back to where we were at Hopkins. And I think that that's not necessarily the mindset, especially at the beginning of the season, we should have been taking.
Shum back to pass, 7-step drop, goes down the right sideline. Leonard Osborne there, this time intercepted, 2 feet in bounds. Carson Bordeaux calls ball game. Harvey the final snap at midfield. He'll kneel it on the Bomber logo, and that does it here from the South Hill in week number 1. Johns Hopkins, the number 8 team in the nation. They come all the way back, and they stun the Bombers here in the home opener. 27-23 will be your final.
Seeing them kind of fall on their face after an offseason of hype. You've got a new starting quarterback coming in. You've got a whole bunch of great defensive captains ready to lead a newly formed unit. And then just to see them kind of fall on their face after a great first half was really disheartening.
Raymond takes a snap, looking towards the right side, going for a deep ball to Charles. He is open against Paquette. He makes the catch at the 20, walks in 10-5, touchdown, goals. What a play.
Not a lot of things were clicking on either side of the ball, so you had to go in there with the hope as a fan, of course, that the team was going to rebound, but you also had to go in there with a fresh mindset.
Cosme Diaz will get the handoff, trying to cut back up the middle. He will walk in untouched, touchdown, goals.
We almost did too much prep and we had too many things to touch on. And it kind of, disrupted some of the flow of the show. So Connor and I, kind of moving from point to point, I think we almost had too much to talk about. It got a little, watered down, and we really couldn't just talk ball like, we want to and like we like to.
Shum takes the snap. It's going to be a fade route over for Lang, going in the top corner, picked off, intercepted.
We kind of took that and we tried to make an extra step further, and we fell flat on our face. It was still a very good broadcast, but it was such a step back.
Even though it wasn't our best show, we were able to, debrief that on Monday at our meeting and come back for Curry, and we were a lot better.
It's going to be an air mail, right sideline, Lang, one-on-one coverage, back right pylon, touchdown Bombers!
There was a certain hunger and energy and drive to be better, and that's when I really knew that I had something special with this crew as a whole. When they came into that game, really, instead of, well, let's just try to get back to where we were, it was we did not do well this past week. We're going to do exceptionally well this week and keep that kind of momentum.
From 2014 to 2023, the Bombers had enjoyed a program record of 69-30, with only one losing season. In 2024, the Bombers started the season 1-2 for the first time in nearly a decade. Ithaca looked to rebound against a familiar conference foe.
Over head coach Michael Tupper's first 12 games of conference play, the Bombers have remained undefeated. Now, as they look to get win number 13, they will have to take it on the road against the same team they got win number 1 against, the Hobart College Statesmen.
We knew coming in that it was a big week. We wanted to, prepare at a higher level. It was conference play. Coach Tupper that week talked a lot about it being a week where they have to come in with a lot of urgency. They're going to be either revealed or exposed.
Me, Cam, and Parker knew coming into this game that if we won this game, we were going to be okay. And we were going to have a chance for the third straight Liberty title and everything else.
And I remember as a crew driving to that game, we had some high hopes, but once we got to the field, it just seemed like the energy that day was off and Hobart kind of came out faster. They came out with more energy during the stretches.
And I'll never forget when Ithaca got stopped on the 1 yard line for the first time.
Williams in the backfield, takes the snap, handoff Williams, trying to cut through the middle, a shove there. The referees are coming in. Did he make it in? We're waiting to see. They're going to say no. Williams did not get in.
Me and Cam sort of looked at each other and we were like, okay, okay, that was bad, but it's not like detrimental. And then in the second half, they once again get stopped on the 1 yard line. 3 plays in a row.
Shum is going to take the snap, try and push his way in. Is he in? We're waiting to see second effort. We're going to have to wait and see. They are going to say no. Colin Shum did not get in.
And Cam wanted to slam his fists on the table so badly. And it was just, you could just see the frustration not only from the players, but also from us.
I mean, that is just something that cannot happen for the Bombers.
It cannot at all.
There was a lot of extracurriculars going on towards the end of that game, and it was just a game that everybody felt like Ithaca should have had that game handily going away. And yet 2 yards separated that game from a win to a loss.
So that was a day where definitely it was the lowest of lows that I've been a part of for Bomber football.
I talked to Coach Terp because he didn't want me to talk to his guys after that game. He didn't want me to interfere with the vibes, with the way that they were feeling, because he wanted them to use it. So he talked to me and he said that team was broken in that moment. And that was a really hard moment, because realizing, hey, this team that not only do we love because we have this connection to, but it's our job to continue telling them, if they are broken and they lose their spirit, that is a whole other challenge for us to deal with.
It kind of forced us to start having conversations about what is this year of Ithaca football going to look like?
What does it mean if this level of a broadcasting team has to cover a team that isn't to that level anymore?
All right, time to get into this week. Honestly, I think it was a good show, but it just definitely wasn't what last week was. Overall, I'm pretty happy.
No matter what kind of game it is out there, I think just knowing that we can make it a better and better broadcast every time as a crew, and win or lose, there's stuff to talk about.
No part of the crew understands the need to roll with the punches more than the halftime show.
So the halftime show basically takes parts of what is covered in the pregame show, countdown to kickoff, as well as the first half, and tries to incorporate it into one little story that then extends to the second half.
And they are the most on-the-fly crew of all of them, because everything is changing so fast for them. And their whole thing is break down the film. They have highlights, they get into X's and O's, and then general, what do you want to see from the second half of this team?
We're tasked with, filling people with stats and really everything at halftime, and just informing people. It's about like a 15 to 20 minute segment.
Isn't the worst thing in the world if you're Rochester.
At times, we've had a tendency to focus on one narrative sort of throughout the course of the show. So in recent weeks, we've just made sure that we whatever we open with, we kind of keep it to the opening.
But as much fun as had, every member of the WICB crew looks to improve their piece of the puzzle week over week.
Yeah, like you guys both touched on, I thought the beginning was kind of rushed. I thought we were like a little flustered and off our game.
You know, we always have our Monday meetings to debrief after a game on a Saturday, but you know, the field crew, between us, we're always debriefing and talking about every single game while we're in this car ride going back.
The Monday meetings were great, and being able to talk to everybody, again, obviously, especially for road trips, I only see the field crew, so I only see Parker, Cam, and Alex. So being able to go back and kind of touch base with everybody and talk about here's what was going on our end.
So these guys have to find a way to balance that into a cast that has been done for 100 years.
This football crew in particular cared so much about improving together and not being a individual process. We cared each week as a team, getting better all the small things, and it grew to Cortaca definitely being our best broadcast of the year.
Parker, Cam, and Alex all have their individual mindset of here's what I was doing, here's what I think was going wrong, but also you're live on air, so you don't get the full grasp. And I think me being able to kind of listen to the whole broadcast, it was helpful for me to be able to just give notes like here's what it sounded like for somebody that wasn't, you know, actively broadcasting.
The pizza, listen to CTK, you guys will talk about it, but everything sounded good. Started a little slow, but got into it.
Something that I really wanted to focus on with being field producer was making the broadcast sound as good and as professional as possible. I think that's really important, something to strive for, especially if we're trying to say that we have one of the best collegiate broadcasts, and I truly think that we do.
For not only just for us as a broadcast crew, but also for the team, hitting rock bottom at Hobart, I think was the best thing that could have happened to both the team and us, because truly it only went up from there, and our level of production and content and broadcasting only went up from there.
From inside the Dick Lions press box, we say happy Saturday, and thanks for joining us here on 92 WICB. Alongside Alex Tchiprout, I'm Cam Manna. Parker Hollendoner down on the field. We'll hear from him shortly.
The energy was great going into Rochester. We didn't expect what Ithaca was able to do.
The resilience of that team really spoke to and really tied into how resilient the crew was and how much they were dedicated to making this season great, even if the playoffs were at that point kind of out of reach.
Parker stands tall, takes a snap, back to throw, has some time. Slam pass, Lang at the 40. Lang with space, 45, now 50, other 45. There goes Lang, a lot of space. He will go all the way. Touchdown Bombers!
I remember being on the field, and Matt Giavoni, our producer, came up to us and said, this is going to be an award-winning broadcast no matter what. It almost felt like for some reason it was our last game, even though it wasn't, but it kind of felt that type of feel. This was a do or die for the team, but also as a broadcasting team, we knew that we had some potential that we could unleash.
Here goes Leonard Osborne, up to the right side. Leonard Osborne, history, glory, 10-5, touchdown Bombers!
And I feel like from the countdown to kickoff, halftime podcast to our field crew, that was definitely the best week to that point.
After such a shaky start, Ithaca football managed to claw their way back to contention, winning several in a row. One of the galvanizing factors, a quarterback change and updated offensive philosophy. But when all is said and done, every road leads back to the field of play and the on-site voices of the broadcasts.
There is the field crew, which is also our travel crew, and they go to every single game. That consists of our play-by-play and color commentators. They call every game. The people that you hear on the mics, those are the people who are play-by-play people during the game. We also have a sideline reporter.
Sideline hits are something that's really important for a sideline reporter to do. It's the story, it's the check-in, it's the thing that the audience can't see in the picture that's painted by the play-by-play and color commentator. It's that extra look at what the bench is doing, how the coaches are feeling. After a player makes a mistake or a big play, how is he feeling and which teammates are coming to congratulate him? That's really important, and that's my favorite part of the job, is I get to communicate that feeling.
And then our field producer who makes the show run from the road and make sure everything goes well.
Cam is always pumped up. Even if he says he's not, he's always comes in pumped up.
I have such a good call for JLL.
Alex was just great, and you could see his confidence rise the entire season. It was just great to be in the booth with both of them.
Everyone was determined to improve every single week. When you have a common goal to be determined to do something, I feel like that's where you have the most success. So I think this crew was determined, fun, resilient, really, really fun crew to be a part of.
The field crew may be small, but carries the weight of tradition on their shoulders. The voices of the Bombers travel across the country in order to keep track of all things Bomber football. Being so close to the team week over week forms a bond, and the trust of the players and coaches grants insight and excellent on-air moments.
Second road trip stop, I should say, of the road trip. How are we feeling, boys? How are we feeling?
This is in Ithaca.
Parker almost strangled me in the car because we, again, didn't know each other that well. So it took us 6 hours of a car ride to kind of get acquainted to each other. But thankfully he didn't do that. We made it through the whole season, so that's good.
Everybody watching this has to understand is that when we go on a road, and when I mean we, I mean Cam, myself, Parker, and our field producer, Matt Chivoni. The four of us are the travel crew. We go on the road to every single game. When we go on the road, normally there's like a 2 to 3 hour car ride that you're sitting in the Chevy Malibu, we'll say, from the Ithaca College. That was the rental car that we got this year. Tight spaces, and we're just talking normally.
But why would you ever get fish products from McDonald's?
Well, because that's the easiest way to get food poisoning.
We had hibachi in Massachusetts, which was amazing. Me and Cam, you would have guessed that it was the first time we ever ate, just based off of, especially Cam's reaction. I don't know if he's ever seen a steak cooked before, because he was just staring at that chef the entire time. The game wasn't as eventful, but just the road trip, I feel like that's the first time that we all really got to know each other, and that just built throughout the entire season.
The whole crew assembled broadcasts for over 4 hours every week through a complete season. Over the years, past crews have garnered national attention, winning awards and broadcasting from places like MetLife and Yankee stadiums. But even when the crew is having the most fun possible, adversity lurks for any overzealous amateur broadcasters.
The day before the Johns Hopkins game, it was actually my birthday.
The night before, I was calling a volleyball game, and my sideline reporter accidentally broke my sideline mic. And the station, we're not drowning in money about WICB. So losing that piece of equipment was terrifying.
And then when I actually got to Butterfield Stadium, the Ethernet wasn't working. And this was a problem that I encountered at every home game.
The Buffalo State game was really frustrating because the equipment just couldn't cooperate.
At least what we think went wrong. There's a police station right next to Buff State, and we think their radio signals interfered with our radio signal.
We tried to do him on a phone call, but our sports director, Tobiah Zboray, quickly shut us down on that because it sounded like he was in a well.
Thank you so much, Cam. You as well. Well, those last two plays were all Ithaca. Just looked like classic Bomber football.
So Union Week was stressful in so many ways. The crew is leaving at 6:40, and it's 6:35. All well and good, except we've heard nothing from Parker. So an audible is made. I was going to drive back to my apartment, grab my suit, get out the door. If I get back to Park and Parker's not there by then, we're gone. I text Parker as we're leaving Park, hey, you're the new CTK analyst. Smitty's going to host. We got to go. I get a phone call as soon as I hit send as we are pulling out of the college. I'm pulling into Park. Please don't leave me. We were able to pull around in a parking lot, turn around, and zoom back up to the college. Parker was 10 seconds away from missing one of his best, maybe the best game of his career. It was a rough way to start the morning. 20 minutes before we go on the air, Zeta goes down. Gentry completely crashes on us. We cannot pull up music. We cannot play anything new. Nothing is working. We could use the mics, but we would have no intro, no way of getting the game open in, no way of playing our interviews. I'm running around trying to fix Zeta. Eventually we do it. We do a hard computer, log back in, pull everything back up, and thankfully that does the job. But I cannot imagine the stress of me being in Schenectady, New York, and trying to, over the phone, walk someone through how to do a hard reset of Zeta. That was a really rough week.
Through all the difficulties, the crew was able to find fixes before a special Senior Day send-off.
It's also our last home game for us here, Cam, at Butterfield Stadium. 21 games consecutively between you, myself, and Parker Hollendoner covering this football team. And
for us, it was the last time we were going to step in a booth that we called home for all the games prior, from our first game doing it from Hobart the year before to that game there. So there was a lot of emotions walking. I remember standing with Parker on the sideline and taking in the pregame feel for the final time.
Parker back to throw, fade ball, Lang, back left pylon, one-handed grab, did he hold on? You bet! It's Nick Lang, a Bomber touchdown!
At halftime, maybe the most emotional I've gotten was Coach Michael Turper, surly guy, really serious, really loves his job and loves his guys. He came up and I wanted to ask him serious questions about this game. They were up by a couple scores at halftime. And he instead took the time to compliment every member of our crew.
How do you feel about the way this entire offense has been running?
I think Cam Mana is the #1 play-by-play guy in the country.
In order to leave Butterfield Stadium for the last time this season with a win, what do you need to do?
You know, you have a wonderful hat. You've been doing great. You love the Ravens. I love the Ravens. They got to win, and we signed up for 60. So we better come out here and finish this game the way we want to finish this game for these seniors. A nice little handkerchief here today as well. Nice touch.
Coach, thank you so much.
All right, Parker.
It was just such a special experience to see how much he appreciated us, that we meant as much to him as he does to us, because he's been so special for this broadcast team, and he's really special to me, and I will always remember that.
When it comes to quality broadcast, the entire year sometimes seems like a warm-up when it comes to the grand finale.
The Cortaca Jug game is the biggest thing that we're ever going to cover at Ithaca College. Ithaca could play in a national championship football game during our time here, and it still would not rival what Cortaca means.
The biggest little game in the nation, the Cortaca Jug game, is the most famous rivalry in Division III football and garners massive attention year over year.
It's a legendary game. You have to bring the energy and to life for all the alumni and what this game means. But for us, it was another week.
Just kickoff itself, waiting for the football to be kicked from Cortland to Ithaca, and just waiting for that moment was absolutely surreal. And, you know, it was something that you really want to just, you know, embrace and try and hold on to as much as possible. But as much as you're trying to hold on to that moment, you still have to call a football game.
It's Ithaca, it's Cortland, it's Cortaca, and it starts now on 92 WICB Ithaca and on the Bomber Radio Network.
Every great underdog story starts with a prediction. A prediction that heavily leans to one side where one team isn't given a chance. The Miracle on Ice, Rocky vs. Drago, the Mighty Ducks.
That broadcast was magical, and it was exactly what we needed in that moment.
It's all drawn up, predictions out the window. This is college football at its finest. Baldwin's kick, and you're underway here in week number 11.
And the chills that I got being up there with that crew, even though not being in the pads on the field, knowing that we made an impact on this team from the booth and everyone at home that was listening to that football game, that meant so much, taking in every sound, every moment, every smell. That was definitely the coolest game of the whole entire season.
Pressure, screen pass right, Jake Williams 45-50. There he goes down the right sideline, 40, 35, 30. There goes Jake Williams, bring out the red carpet. He got a block, he's at the one, bulldozes, and the underdog story begins.
People who have never listened to Ithaca football are going to tune into Cortaca on WICB that week. And so we know that we have to bring our very best for that game, because the team's going to try and bring their very best.
Hand off Leonard Osborne, right side with some room. Leonard Osborne 45. Oh man, he's going to go all the way. 30, 25. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. Leonard Osborne, Bomber touchdown. Boys, play action fake. Goes right side. It's a trick play. Sam Cotton, right sideline, wide open. Alfano St. John. 10-5 touchdown.
We couldn't get too high and think too much about, well, hey, it's 14-14. They have a chance to win this game. Need to get an at-large bid. I thought we stuck the course, stayed together, continue with the story. So that's what halftime was all about. We were feeling really good.
I could not have asked for a better moment to be taking over a football game. It was 14-14, and I said my very first words were, wipe the slate clean. And that's really what it felt like for the crew and for the team going into the second half, because this is a brand new football game. 30 minutes to decide the 65th annual Cortaca Jug, and truly, nobody knew who was going to win.
Looks towards the left side. Ayers went out on a fade route to the back of the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. CJ Messina for the Red Dragons on the beautifully executed.
And the game started to slowly kind of come to an end.
It'll be a fake to him. Boys going out towards the left side. Rolls and able to waltz into the end zone. Touchdown, Red Dragons.
And I feel like we felt that in a way in half number 2, where this season was starting to kind of come to an end, but we had to really continue even more to then kind of get to the emotional side and dig deep about all these players again.
And as the clock will count down 3, 2, 1, 0, the 65th annual Cortaca Jug has ended. The final score, Cortland 28, Ithaca 17.
The end of the broadcast was really sad for everybody. Parker did his kind of like farewell hit before the interviews, and that got all of us choked up in the booth.
I have to say a few words, not as a reporter,
but just as normal old Parker Hollendoner. I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in for all 22 games.
Knowing that it was the final time that we would have the headsets on together, that was an emotional feeling, but also a proud feeling for the work we were able to do.
I've had guys cry to me. I've had guys angry at me. I've had guys so excited that they couldn't help but swear. And I got all of that. But I also got a team that loved each other and didn't get the result they wanted. And they still gave me they poured their hearts out on air.
Your last game as a Bomber, what's going through your head right now?
Man, I just don't want it to end, man. I don't want to take off these pads. I don't want to walk off this field. Like, I just want to, I love the Bombers, man. I don't want it to end.
And I am so lucky that I was able to build that connection enough with the team that they trusted me to give me their emotion and their feeling in one of the hardest moments of their lives to that point.
And then Alex was doing his farewell thing, and while he was doing that, I don't even know if I told this story at any of the radio meetings or anything. Cam actually signaled if I wanted to go on and say something, and I was crying a little bit, so I didn't go on and say anything because I didn't want the few words that I said live on air for the football crew the whole year to be me crying. So I decided to sit that one out, but it was a really nice moment there at the end, even though obviously it was sad because the season was over.
For our outstanding producer, Matt Chivoni, alongside Cam Mana, I'm Alex Tchiprout saying so long for the final time, and thank you for listening to this special edition of Bomber Football on 92 WICB.
The most powerful moment I think I've experienced on this crew was at the end of that game, after I had signed off for the last time. Me and Cam and Giovanni just put our headsets down and sort of just sat there for a moment in silence and just let us all just take it in.
I didn't want to take the headset off. I remember you signed up for the final time. We sent it to the studio. Toby, our sports director, was back in the studio. You could feel and hear the emotions. And then I remember we didn't take our headsets off, and then Matt unplugged the Comrex, and everything kind of went silent.
And I think, it speaks to truly the family atmosphere and the community atmosphere of this group, because after that we all, gave each other hugs and told each other that we loved each other, and it was a really special moment.
I didn't realize how much I was going to cry at the end of this season when the mics turned off for Cortaca. But because of what we had built as a crew, and less because the game hadn't gone Ithaca's way, I've cried by the hardest I've cried in years.
It's the little things that were sad when the mics went off, not just calling a touchdown, but walking with Alex to talk to Coach Turper, walking into the field and seeing Parker and Alex already in the booth, and Matt's getting pizza coming back to the field. All the little things, all the routines that we had, that was the biggest thing that I was not ready to let go of.
I'm going to say this is that there's a lot of radio crews, especially college radio crews, that cover bigger teams than what D3 Football Ithaca is, but I doubt that those crews have the access, the information, or the community and the family that this WICB Football Crew had.
And then if you had to describe WICB Football Crew in one word, what would it be?
Tenacious.
Magical.
I would have to say special.
I'd probably say a very determined group. I'd say family.
I knew at the start of the year that I wanted to build a crew that was special and full of special people. And I did. They blew me away. We gelled so quickly and became so close. I've never had another crew where, like, fall break, I hosted a potluck at my place because we were all stuck here. There's never been another crew where I felt like we were close enough to do that. And I just sat there in the studio for 5 minutes while I said goodbye to everyone, like hugged everyone and told them how much I loved them and how much I respected their work on the crew this year. And then afterwards going to the Smiley's gas station and just hanging out as friends for an hour.
After Cortaca, we all ended up at a gas station near campus. It's called Smiley's, and that's where we decided to have our post-game meal, and everybody from the crew showed up, which is the first time that we'd been joined by the studio crew for our post-game meal, because usually it's just field crew. But it was really nice to just get everybody in one place.
2022 was the undefeated football crew. 2023, they got to go to Randolph-Macon and all that stuff, but this year just felt special because of the people that were in it and the culture that was around the crew, and I think that it was the tightest that the crew has been in years, and I think it was truly the most well-rounded that the crew has been in years.
That's what this crew will mean to me, and that's what I'm going to remember from this crew. I'm not going to remember the broadcast. I'm not going to remember what we said on air. I'm going to remember those moments, the time spent with the crew, the hanging out, the good times, the family that we built. I'm going to remember all of that. That's what's going to live with me.
It has been an absolute honor and a privilege to be a part of this crew for 3 years. And I'm so happy that we are leaving it in a better place for everyone after us. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and I love you all. For one final time, as a member of the WICB Football Crew, I want to say thank you for listening to coverage of the 65th annual Cortaca Jug Game and Ithaca Bomber football all year long. This has been coverage of Ithaca Bomber football on 91.7 FM, WICB Ithaca, and on the Bomber Radio Network.
So even though they, Jake Williams, Jalen Leonard Osborne weren't really getting it done on the ground, there's some dogs, and they were getting it done in the passing attack as well.
Down here over the course of this game, we are in central New York today, and I keep getting whiffs of sea breeze. I swear it smells like the beach down here, and I am so thoroughly confused. I would love it if one of you could pull up a map. Maybe our lovely producer Alex could pull up a map and figure out, are we close to a lake or something? Are you guys getting whiffs of this? I keep getting odors of sea breeze. It's been deeply confusing. It's been throwing me off all game. Maybe it's what's getting this Ithaca offense all confused. But we'll toss it back up to you. Please answer my question and help me out.
I'm going to be that person here. So I do like my steaks grilled, but I want mine mooing. I want it blue. I want my steaks blue.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I'm a rare guy.
Blue blood.
I love a rare steak.
You making it on the grill?
Oh, yes, on the grill.
Okay.
Coach, hard-fought, physical first half, surprisingly great performance from the special teams. I don't mean that in a negative sense, but it's been outstanding. What have you thought about your unit so far today?
What's so surprising?
We have eyes at the field right now. We're going to send it to Cam Manna live from Geneva, New York. Cam, glad to have you on the show.
As we get ready to send it back to Alex Tchiprout, Cam Manna, Park and Hollendoner, right at...
And Andrew Roberts, Connor Smith, also known as Smith. I have to mention, too, quickly, there was just a enormous monster red truck going on the highway. Did anybody just see that?
I did not see that game. I was not looking at the road.
Bombers back by the water here against Hobart, so hey, maybe a chance to see some clams down there in Seneca Lake, and
I love the buffalo chicken blue cheese combo, especially on pizza. It's awesome.
Really? That's a good pie, but it's an interesting one from you, Smitty.
They have a series of 2 whiteboards in which they are writing any series of 5 numbers, as far as I can tell, and a board that is in the shape of a diamond that appears to be a combination of the classic memory game Simon and maybe a Cience, that old game, the cow goes moo that you had when you were a little kid, that plastic circle. I'm deeply confused, but I do have one of their magic numbers. 14913 is throw an interception to Derek Sluka.
Smitty, I can see you being orange juice. Now I got to go the classic Maine winter breakfast of warm slice of apple pie fresh out of the oven and then a block of cheddar cheese right off to the side. It's a Maine tradition. My ma has it at every winter breakfast. It's like apple pie, cheddar cheese on the holidays.
Love Tom. He's a great guy. I'm going to go with actually you, Toby. I'm going to go Toby. I feel like the Mainer and Toby's got the survival skills. The apple pie with cheddar cheese, we can figure that one out. But hey, I think if I needed to survive, I'm going with Toby.
Listen, if I'm walking around, it's got to be my Converse. Everyone who knows me, I've either got the baby blue or the highlighter pink Converse on. I got the highlighter pinks on today.
And this week, I can't believe I'm saying this, I saw a pigeon trapped in Leckenby Stadium trying to escape. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what the theme of the year is, that all these strange flying things are happening through the air. But if you have a better explanation, feel free to tweet at me, or you guys up in the booth, help me out here. Guys, to you.
Yeah, Parker. Not sure I can help you out there. That's unbelievable on your part. Runner will punch it away here. That's amazing.
You know, you could have like said like a supercar. You could have had like a Ferrari or something, but a Subaru or a Sub.
They're good cars.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fight
I'm not complaining
reliable.
about the Subaru. I'm just complaining like, what is that nickname?
I feel like I could fit in with the otter community if I one day woke up and was a river and or sea otter. If that does happen, we'll have to find someone to take my place on Countdown to Kickoff. That won't be happening right now, though. We are going to take a quick little break, though, so don't go anywhere. Opposing coach matchup coming up on CTK.